I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Your brain is already beginning its quietest work, weaving together the memories of your day, preparing the stage for a world only you will ever enter. You'll discover what science now knows about the hidden architecture of your dreams, and understand why the most fascinating journey you take each night begins the moment you close your eyes. Welcome to Sleepy Mind Science. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying in the quiet dark, your thoughts still drifting softly from the day, allow yourself to settle into this moment. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about dreams and lucid dreaming, from the deep biology of the sleeping brain to the borderless landscapes your mind creates each night, to the extraordinary science of waking up inside a dream while your body rests completely still. This thoughtful journey through the science of dreams builds bridges between curious minds who wonder what truly happens when they close their eyes. A gentle subscribe, a like, or a quiet share helps other seekers of sleep and science find their way here, and brings us closer to protecting this peaceful space for every tired mind who needs it. One sleepy soul at a time. Your presence here means the world to us. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Every night, without a single instruction from you, your brain enters one of the most active states it will experience all day. Sleep is not a pause in your mental life. It is a continuation of it, just under different rules. While your muscles rest and your body repairs itself, your brain cycles through distinct stages of activity, each one serving a different purpose. The architecture of a full night of sleep follows a pattern so precise and so consistent that scientists can read it in your brainwaves like a musical score. Understanding that pattern is where our journey through the science of dreams begins. Sleep is divided into two broad categories that alternate throughout the night. The first is called non-rapid eye movement sleep, or NREM sleep, and the second is called rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep. NREM sleep itself has 3 stages, moving from light drowsiness through progressively deeper levels of rest. REM sleep is the stage most strongly associated with vivid dreaming. Together, NREM and REM sleep take turns throughout the night in cycles that last roughly 90 minutes each. A typical 8-hour night contains 4 to 6 of these complete cycles, each one slightly different from the last. The very first stage of sleep, called N1, is the lightest transition. It lasts only a few minutes and represents the threshold between wakefulness and sleep. During N1, your muscles may twitch suddenly in what is called a hypnic jerk, a brief spasm that sometimes feels like falling. Researchers believe hypnic jerks may be a natural artifact of the nervous system beginning to relax. Your brain in N1 produces alpha and theta waves, slower and more synchronized than the busy electrical patterns of waking. This is the doorway, and you pass through it every single night. Stage N2 is the most common stage of sleep, accounting for roughly half of your total sleep time across a night. It is during N2 that the brain produces brief bursts of rapid electrical activity called sleep spindles. These spindles, which last only about half a second to 2 seconds, are now understood to play an important role in protecting the sleeping brain from external disturbances. They act as a kind of neural buffer, keeping the environment from pulling you back into wakefulness. Sleep spindles also appear to be involved in the consolidation of newly learned information, including both physical skills and factual knowledge gathered during the day. The deepest stage of sleep is called N3, sometimes referred to as slow-wave sleep or deep sleep. During N3, the brain generates large, slow electrical oscillations called delta waves. These slow waves appear to coordinate a dialogue between the hippocampus, which is the brain's short-term memory center, and the cortex, which handles long-term storage. This conversation during deep sleep is believed to be essential for transferring what you learned during the day into more durable memory. The brain, during deep sleep, is not silent. It is conducting some of its most important work. After cycling through the stages of NREM sleep, the brain shifts into REM sleep for the first time of the night. During REM sleep, your eyes move rapidly beneath your closed eyelids, which is how this stage got its name. Your brain becomes highly active, producing electrical patterns that look surprisingly similar to those of wakefulness. At the same time, a remarkable thing happens. The muscles of your body, apart from your eyes and your diaphragm, become almost completely paralyzed. This state is called muscle atonia, and it serves a very specific purpose. It keeps you from physically acting out your dreams. The first REM period of the night is brief, often lasting only 10 to 15 minutes. But as the night progresses, something changes. Each successive cycle of sleep brings a longer REM period, with more time spent in this vivid, dreaming state. By the final cycles before waking, REM sleep can last up to 45 minutes or longer. This means that the majority of your dream experience happens in the second half of the night. If you tend to cut your sleep short, you are disproportionately cutting into the time your brain spends dreaming. Dreaming is not exclusive to REM sleep. Research has confirmed that mental activity occurs during all stages of sleep. However, the dreams that arise from NREM sleep tend to be different in character from REM dreams. NREM dreams are typically shorter, more grounded in realistic situations, and less emotionally intense. REM dreams, by contrast, tend to be longer, more narrative in structure, emotionally vivid, and often strange in ways that defy the normal rules of time and space. Both kinds of dreaming serve functions that researchers are still working to fully understand. Approximately 82% of people, when awakened directly from REM sleep, report having been in the middle of a dream. When awakened from NREM sleep, roughly 50% also report some form of mental experience. These figures suggest that the sleeping mind is almost never truly quiet. There is always something forming in the background of your awareness, even when you have no memory of it in the morning. Dream recall depends heavily on whether you wake up during or shortly after a dream. The closer to waking you are when a dream ends, the more likely you are to remember it. The question of why we dream has occupied scientists and philosophers for as long as we have records of human thought. Ancient Egyptians believed dreams were messages from the gods. Ancient Greeks built temples where the sick would sleep in hope of receiving healing visions. For much of the 20th century, dreams were seen through the lens of psychology as windows into unconscious desires. Today, neuroscience approaches the question differently. Rather than asking what dreams mean, researchers increasingly ask what dreams do. And the answers emerging from laboratories around the world suggest that dreaming serves real and measurable biological functions. One of the most carefully studied functions now linked to dreaming involves the regulation of emotion. During REM sleep, the brain is awash in a specific mix of neurochemicals, notably norepinephrine, a chemical associated with stress and anxiety, is almost entirely absent during REM sleep. This creates a unique environment in which the brain can replay emotionally charged memories without the accompanying chemical stress response. Some researchers describe this as the brain processing difficult experiences in a kind of safe chemical chamber, potentially allowing distressing memories to lose some of their emotional intensity over time. The relationship between sleep, dreaming, and memory is one of the most active areas of research in neuroscience today. Scientists now understand that sleep does not simply preserve memories, it actively transforms them. During sleep, the brain appears to extract what matters most from the experiences of the day, retain the meaningful patterns, and let go of irrelevant details. A 2025 review proposed a framework called the REM Refining and Rescuing Hypothesis, which suggests that REM sleep works to improve the signal-to-noise ratio within memory, strengthening what is emotionally meaningful, while gently fading what is neutral or redundant. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure deep inside the brain, plays a central role in both memory and dreaming. During wakefulness, the hippocampus records new experiences in a form of rapidly accessible short-term storage. During sleep, it appears to replay fragments of these recordings, sending them to the cortex for longer-term integration. This process of replay was first observed in animal studies, where hippocampal cells that activated as a rat moved through a maze were found to replay the same sequence during sleep, as if the animal were rehearsing its path in the dark. Subsequent research in humans has found comparable patterns of memory reactivation during sleep, pointing to a shared biological mechanism across species. Sleep spindles, those brief bursts of synchronized brain activity that occur during N2 sleep, have been found to have a direct relationship with memory performance. Studies have shown that people who produce more sleep spindles after learning a new skill or set of facts perform better on memory tests the following day. Sleep spindles appear to act as carriers for the signals that move memories from short-term hippocampal storage to more permanent cortical storage. This finding has led researchers to explore whether supporting spindle activity during sleep could one day help people with aging-related cognitive changes. The brain, during REM sleep, generates theta rhythms, oscillating electrical patterns in the range of 6 to 10 cycles per second, particularly in the hippocampus. These theta oscillations appear to be necessary for certain kinds of memory consolidation to occur during sleep. Research has shown that when theta rhythms during REM sleep are experimentally silenced in animal models, contextual memory consolidation is impaired even though the animals still sleep normally. Silencing theta during NREM sleep or wakefulness did not produce the same effect, suggesting a specific and essential role for dreaming sleep in this kind of memory work. A 2025 study used a careful experimental approach to investigate the connection between dreaming and memory. Participants listened to different audiobooks before sleep, exposing their brains to distinct narrative experiences. During REM sleep, the researchers analyzed patterns of electrical brain activity and found that the content of the audiobook was being processed at the neural level while participants slept. In some cases, blind raters could determine which audiobook a participant had listened to simply by reading their dream reports from that night. The sleeping brain, it appears, was quietly weaving the day's stories into the fabric of the night. When people dream about a task they are trying to learn, their memory for that task often improves more than if they sleep without dreaming about it. A meta-analysis, drawing on 16 studies, found a strong and statistically significant association between learning-related dreams and post-sleep memory performance. Dreaming about what you are trying to learn appears to be a signal that the brain is actively working on that material during sleep. The relationship was particularly strong for dreams occurring during NREM sleep, suggesting that the brain's memory processing work during dreaming spans more than just the REM stage. Dreams rarely replay events exactly as they occurred. Instead, the dreaming brain typically extracts fragments of experience and recombines them in unexpected ways. A waking memory of leaving a coffee shop might become a dream in which you and your father wander through a series of unfamiliar rooms making difficult choices. The setting, the characters, and the actions may all shift, but some emotional thread of the original experience is preserved and transformed. This process of recombination may be part of how sleep helps the brain integrate new information with older knowledge, creating broader associations and more flexible patterns of thought. The content of your dreams is shaped in part by the emotional weight of your waking experiences. Highly meaningful events, situations loaded with anxiety, joy, grief, or unresolved tension are more likely to find their way into dreams than neutral, unremarkable experiences. Researchers call this the day residue effect. Combined with emotional salience weighting, your brain appears to prioritize what matters most when deciding what to replay at night. The more an experience engaged your emotions during the day, the more likely it is to reappear in some form as you sleep. One important function of dreaming may be to help regulate the emotional intensity of difficult memories over time. A current hypothesis, supported by growing evidence, suggests that REM sleep helps to preserve the factual content of an emotionally significant memory while gradually reducing its raw emotional charge. Over successive nights of sleep, the memory becomes more accessible and less overwhelming. This process may underlie the common experience of waking up after a period of grief or stress and finding that difficult feelings, while still present, feel slightly more manageable than they did the night before. The oldest known written record of a dream dates from ancient Mesopotamia, inscribed on clay tablets more than 4,000 years ago. The dream was recorded by a king who believed he had received a divine instruction. Throughout history, almost every culture has developed systems for interpreting dreams, from the elaborate onomancy of ancient Rome to the dream-sharing practices of indigenous cultures around the world. The universality of dreaming across all known human societies suggests that whatever function dreams serve, it is old enough and important enough to have persisted through every stage of human development. Every mammal studied so far shows signs of REM sleep. Birds also experience it. Some reptiles appear to have a state with similarities to REM sleep as well. Though this remains an area of active research, even some invertebrates, including octopuses, display behavioral changes during sleep that may reflect a form of experience with some parallels to dreaming. When researchers observed octopuses in sleep, the animals changed color rapidly and moved their suckers and skin in ways that suggested active visual processing. The biology of sleep with dreamlike qualities, in some form, appears to reach far back into evolutionary history. People who are born blind dream with vivid sensory detail, but the nature of their dream experience depends on when they lost their sight. Those who lost vision before the age of roughly 5 years old tend not to experience visual imagery in dreams. Instead, their dream worlds are rich with sound, touch, smell, and emotion. Those who lost their vision after about age 7 typically retain visual imagery in dreams for years or even decades. This finding suggests that early visual experience leaves a lasting imprint on the dreaming brain, one that persists even when the waking visual world is no longer accessible. The experience of time in dreams does not appear to follow entirely different rules from waking time. Research using the eye signaling technique with experienced lucid dreamers has shown that the duration of dream actions roughly corresponds to how long those same actions would take while awake. Walking across a room, counting to 10, performing a simple task, all take approximately the same amount of time in a dream as they do in waking life. The brain's internal clock, at least for simple tasks, appears to remain remarkably calibrated even during sleep. Across the first 25 facts of this journey, we have moved from the architecture of sleep itself through the biology of memory consolidation, the history of dreaming, and the first scientific measurements of dream time. A quiet picture has begun to form. The dreaming mind is not resting. It is working, selecting, sorting, and weaving together the experiences of your days into something more lasting. And we are only a quarter of the way through this journey. The science of what dreams do is one thing. The science of becoming aware inside a dream is something else entirely. That territory begins to open now. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Even now, as you rest, something is quietly sorting the memories of your day, deciding what to keep, what to blend, and what to tuck away in places you may never fully reach. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing, already knowing exactly what to do. Now we continue. Lucid dreaming is the experience of becoming aware that you are dreaming while the dream is still happening. In a lucid dream, some part of your waking consciousness remains active inside the dream world. You know the landscape around you is not real, and yet you can hear it, feel it, and sometimes shape it. This is not a metaphor or a mystical claim. It is a phenomenon that has been verified in sleep laboratories around the world using the same tools used to study ordinary sleep. And it is now one of the most carefully studied frontiers in consciousness research. The scientific confirmation of lucid dreaming came from a simple and elegant experiment. Researchers established that the eyes of REM sleepers retain some voluntary control, even while the rest of the body is in muscle atonia. They trained experienced lucid dreamers to move their eyes in a specific prearranged pattern. Left, right, left, right. The moment they became aware they were dreaming, when these signals appeared in the electroencephalogram recording alongside clear REM sleep markers, researchers had objective proof. A person was simultaneously dreaming and consciously aware of dreaming. The eye signal became the handshake between the dream world and the waking laboratory. This eye signaling technique, first developed in the late 1970s, remains the gold standard for lucid dreaming research today. It has allowed scientists to ask lucid dreamers to perform specific tasks inside their dreams, and then compare what happens in the brain to the same tasks performed while awake. For example, when lucid dreamers were asked to clench their right fist 10 times inside a dream, the motor cortex of the brain showed activation patterns remarkably similar to those seen when a person actually clenches their fist while awake. The dream body and the waking brain are not as separate as they appear. A 2021 study demonstrated something worth pausing on. Researchers achieved bidirectional communication with sleeping lucid dreamers in real time. While participants slept in the laboratory and were confirmed to be in REM sleep, the researchers played audio cues and asked simple questions. The lucid dreamers responded from inside their dreams using prearranged eye movement signals. Some participants answered correctly up to 4 out of 12 prompts during a single REM period. The dreamers later described the experience of hearing what sounded like a distant voice entering their dream world, like a signal from another place. The boundary between sleep and wakefulness had become, briefly, permeable. Research estimates that roughly 53% of people have experienced at least one spontaneous lucid dream in their lifetime. About 23% are considered regular lucid dreamers, meaning they experience lucid dreams at least once a month. Only a very small number, perhaps 1 in 1,000 people or fewer, report experiencing lucid dreams with high frequency and consistency. The capacity to have lucid dreams appears to be influenced by a combination of natural variation in brain connectivity, practice and intention, and familiarity with recognizing the unusual qualities of the dream state. Lucid dreaming is most strongly associated with REM sleep. It is during REM sleep that the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain most associated with self-awareness, critical thinking, and the ability to reflect on one's own mental state, is partially reactivated after being largely dormant during ordinary dreaming. In regular non-lucid dreams, you accept everything that happens without question, no matter how strange. In lucid dreams, something in the prefrontal cortex recognizes the inconsistencies and wakes up just enough to see through them. A 2025 study published in the Journal of Neuroscience used one of the largest datasets of its kind, pooling electroencephalogram recordings from multiple laboratories across the Netherlands, Germany, Brazil, and the United States, to map the brain activity that occurs during lucid dreaming. The findings revealed that lucid dreaming produces electrical patterns distinct from both ordinary REM sleep and full wakefulness. The precuneus a brain region involved in self-referential awareness and imagery, showed increased gamma activity at the moment a lucid dreamer first signaled their lucidity. Functional connectivity between brain regions also increased in the alpha frequency band during lucid dreams compared to non-lucid REM sleep. The lucid dreaming brain is doing something genuinely unique. The temporoparietal junction, a region of the brain where the temporal and parietal lobes meet, plays an important role in the sense of self, body ownership, and the ability to take the perspective of another person. During lucid dreaming, this region shows reduced beta frequency activity compared to ordinary wakefulness. Researchers believe these changes may be related to the altered sense of self that lucid dreamers often describe. A feeling of being present and aware inside the dream, while simultaneously understanding that the self doing the dreaming is still lying asleep somewhere else. Frequent lucid dreamers tend to show structural and functional differences in their brains compared to non-lucid dreamers. Research has found increased functional connectivity between the frontopolar cortex, which is involved in prospective thinking and self-reflection, and the temporoparietal association areas in people who lucid dream regularly. This suggests that the capacity for lucid dreaming may be related to a broader trait of enhanced metacognition. The ability to observe and reflect on one's own mental processes. In a sense, frequent lucid dreamers may have brains that are particularly well wired for self-awareness. The connection between meditation and lucid dreaming has become a consistent finding in the research literature. People who meditate regularly, particularly those who practice forms of meditation focused on open awareness and the observation of mental states, show significantly higher rates of lucid dreaming than non-meditators. A 2024 study found that frequent lucid dreaming was associated with specific meditation styles, increased meta-awareness, and higher scores on measures of trait mindfulness. Both meditation and lucid dreaming require the same fundamental skill, the ability to observe what the mind is doing without being entirely swept away by it. The most widely studied technique for inducing lucid dreams is called the wake back to bed method, sometimes referred to as WBTB. This method involves waking up after roughly 5 to 6 hours of sleep, remaining awake for a period of 20 minutes to an hour, and then returning to sleep with a strong intention to recognize you are dreaming. By interrupting your sleep during the period when REM episodes are longest and most frequent, and returning while the mind is alert and focused on the goal of lucidity, you meaningfully increase the probability of entering a lucid dream during the next REM period. Another technique studied in controlled settings is called mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, or MELD. You wake during the night, spend a few minutes recalling a recent dream, and then gently visualize yourself back inside that dream while holding a quiet intention. Something like, "Next time I am dreaming, I will know that I am dreaming." The technique works by cultivating prospective memory, the mental habit of remembering to do something in the future. In this case, the future is the next dream, and the thing to remember is simply that you are in one. The drug galantamine, a compound originally used in the treatment of Alzheimer's disease that works by increasing acetylcholine levels in the brain, has been studied as a pharmacological aid to lucid dreaming. A double-blind, placebo-controlled trial found that taking galantamine during a wake-back-to-bed episode significantly increased the frequency of lucid dreams compared to placebo. This is consistent with what neuroscientists know about REM sleep chemistry. Acetylcholine is the dominant neurotransmitter during REM sleep, and higher levels appear to support the heightened neural activity that may underlie lucid awareness. This is a documented pharmacological finding, not a clinical recommendation. Technology is increasingly being applied to the challenge of lucid dream induction. Wearable devices that monitor sleep stages and deliver gentle sensory cues, flashing lights or soft sounds, during REM sleep have been studied in laboratory and home settings. The idea is to provide a subtle external signal strong enough to be incorporated into the dream as a cue for lucidity, but gentle enough not to wake the sleeper entirely. A 2025 research prototype combined visual and auditory cues with pre-sleep cognitive training, using the association between the cue and the intention to dream lucidly to improve induction rates. This remains an active and evolving field. Lucid dreaming has been associated with a range of potential therapeutic applications, and research into these applications has gained considerable momentum in recent years. One of the most studied is the treatment of chronic nightmares. In lucid dream therapy, a person learns to recognize when they are in a nightmare and uses that awareness to alter the direction of the dream. One survey found that 64% of lucid dreamers reported using their lucidity to change bad dreams into more positive experiences. Research in people with post-traumatic stress disorder has found meaningful reductions in nightmare frequency and intensity following training in lucid dreaming. You're still here, still listening, still somewhere in that gentle space between thinking and resting. Take one slow breath. We're exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. If this journey through the science of dreams is bringing you any peace tonight, a quiet subscribe or like helps another restless mind find its way here too. Let's drift onward together. A 2025 study explored whether lucid dreaming could be used to process self-transcendent experiences. Participants were exposed to a virtual reality environment designed to evoke a sense of connection and expanded awareness before sleep. Some participants then experienced lucid dreams that incorporated elements of the virtual reality experience, and in those dreams, described sensations of limitless space and the dissolving of boundaries between self and surroundings. Researchers are investigating whether this combination of pre-sleep experience and lucid dreaming could offer new ways to cultivate psychological well-being and a broader sense of human connection. People who experience lucid dreams often report a distinctive emotional quality to the experience. Many describe feelings of clarity, freedom, wonder, and a deep sense of presence. Research has found that the mood upon waking from a lucid dream is often more positive than after a non-lucid dream. Regardless of the specific content of the dream, this mood benefit may be related to the sense of agency and self-awareness that characterizes the lucid state, or it may reflect the generally positive emotional content that lucid dreams tend to contain. One of the most consistent findings in the psychology of dreaming is that your dreams tend to reflect the emotional concerns of your waking life, but not always in the way you might expect. Dreams rarely replay events literally. Instead, they tend to abstract the emotional core of an experience and embed it in an entirely different scenario. A person anxious about a deadline might dream not of the deadline itself, but of being lost in an unfamiliar building, unable to find the right room. The emotion is preserved, the details are transformed. This is sometimes called the dream displacement effect, and it may be part of how the dreaming brain processes complex feelings. There is a well-documented phenomenon in sleep research, sometimes called the dream lag effect. This describes the observation that experiences from 5 to 7 days before a dream are often incorporated into dream content at a higher rate than experiences from more recent days. Your first night of sleep after a new experience captures some of it in dreams, but then the incorporation dips, only to resurface a week later. Researchers believe this pattern reflects the way memories are initially processed and then revisited during subsequent sleep cycles as the consolidation process continues over several nights. False awakenings are a phenomenon closely related to lucid dreaming. In a false awakening, a dreamer believes they have woken up and begins going through the normal motions of their morning routine, only to realize later that they are still dreaming. Some experienced lucid dreamers describe chains of false awakenings, where waking from one dream leads directly into another. Neuroscientific research suggests that false awakenings involve activation of brain regions associated with waking perception without the actual transition to wakefulness occurring. They are, in a sense, the brain's simulation of waking without following through on it. Sleep paralysis is a phenomenon that occurs when the muscle atonia of REM sleep overlaps with waking consciousness. A person wakes up, or partially wakes up, but finds themselves unable to move. The experience can last from seconds to a few minutes and is often accompanied by vivid hallucinations, typically of a presence in the room or a feeling of pressure on the chest. Sleep paralysis affects a significant portion of the population and can be unsettling when it is not understood. It is not dangerous. It is the same protective mechanism that prevents you from physically acting out your dreams, simply occurring at the wrong moment in the sleep cycle. Research exploring the relationships between lucid dreaming, sleep paralysis, out-of-body experiences, and false awakenings suggests that these phenomena share underlying neurological features. A 2025 study investigated the electrophysiology of all 4 states using overnight brain recordings in frequent experiencers. The researchers found that each state had a distinct but overlapping electrical signature, related to but not identical to either full wakefulness or standard REM sleep. These altered states appear to represent genuine, intermediate conditions of consciousness, neither fully asleep nor fully awake, each with its own quality of awareness. Out-of-body experiences, in which a person perceives themselves as floating above or outside their own physical body, are now understood by many neuroscientists to involve the temporoparietal junction. This brain region helps construct the sense of being located inside a body at a specific point in space. When its function is disrupted, whether through neurological events, extreme fatigue, or the particular conditions of certain sleep states, the brain may temporarily lose its usual grip on the location of the self. The result is the vivid and often profound sensation of observing the world from a perspective outside the body. Tibetan Buddhist practice includes an ancient tradition of dream cultivation called dream yoga, in which practitioners work to maintain continuous awareness across the transitions between waking, sleep, and dreaming. Recent scientific investigations have begun to study experienced dream yoga practitioners using brain imaging and overnight recordings. Preliminary findings suggest that long-term practice of this kind is associated with changes in how the brain navigates the boundary between waking and sleeping awareness. Researchers describe it as evidence that sustained intentional practice may shape the quality of consciousness across different states of mind in ways that persist over time. We are halfway through our journey tonight. We began with the quiet architecture of sleep, moved through the biology of memory and emotion, and arrived at the threshold of conscious dreaming. What has emerged so far is a picture of the sleeping mind as something far more active, creative, and purposeful than simple rest. The brain during sleep is selecting, sorting, processing, and sometimes watching itself with something close to clarity. In the second half of this journey, we turn toward the deeper implications of all this, toward what dreams reveal about the nature of consciousness itself, toward the science of what it means to be aware, and toward the quieter, more personal dimensions of what happens when you close your eyes each night. Let each breath guide you to realize time is yours, a separate stream that only you are living, while the vast dreaming brain continues to spin, weave, and create. This second, you are breathing and listening. 'Tis unique. Even now your brain is quietly filing something from today, moving memories from one place to another while you simply rest. Cherish this present moment, knowing that right now, your rest is part of something the brain has been doing for the entire history of your species. Something ancient, necessary, and quietly perfect. And we continue drifting. The average person has between 3 and 6 distinct dreams each night, one for each REM period. Over the course of a lifetime, that adds up to something in the range of 70,000 to 100,000 dreams. Most of them are forgotten entirely within minutes of waking. The machinery of dream production is extraordinarily prolific. Your mind creates entire worlds, populates them with characters, and runs them for hours each night, all without any conscious input or direction from you. The fact that you remember so few of them does not diminish how many there are. The reason most dreams are forgotten so quickly is related to the neurochemistry of REM sleep. During REM sleep, the brain's levels of norepinephrine and serotonin are very low. These neurotransmitters are involved in memory consolidation. Without them, the memories of dream experiences are not effectively encoded into long-term storage. The dream exists vividly in the moment, but the moment you wake, the chemical environment shifts, and the dream begins to dissolve. This is not a flaw in the system. It is simply the nature of the chemistry that makes REM sleep what it is. Recurring dreams are a common experience across cultures. Research suggests that recurring dreams often involve themes of being chased, falling, being unable to speak or move, or finding yourself in a familiar place that feels unexpectedly unfamiliar. These themes are so widespread across different languages, culture, and periods of history that some researchers have proposed they reflect universal emotional concerns. Threats to safety, social acceptance, bodily integrity, and the ability to act effectively in the world. The brain, it seems, has a limited vocabulary of emotional symbols that it uses across cultures when processing anxiety and stress. Men and women tend to have somewhat different dream content on average. According to a large body of research, using standardized content analysis systems, men's dreams contain more physical aggression, more outdoor settings, and more unfamiliar characters than women's dreams. Women's dreams tend to include more indoor settings, more familiar characters, and more themes involving interpersonal relationships and communication. These differences, while statistically reliable across large samples, show enormous overlap at the individual level. They likely reflect both biological influences and the different social environments that shape waking life concerns. Children dream from very early in life. Even newborns spend a large proportion of their sleep in REM sleep, up to 50% of their total sleep time, compared to roughly 20 to 25% in adults. This high proportion of early REM sleep has led researchers to investigate its role in the rapid neural development occurring during those first months of life. The dreaming brain, even in its earliest form, may be involved in the maturation of neural circuits, the building of connections between regions that will form the architecture of a lifetime of thought. People who practice creative disciplines, such as writing, composing music, or solving complex problems, that have long reported that dreams, or the threshold state between waking and sleep, have been a source of unexpected insights. The scientist August Kekulé described arriving at the ring structure of benzene through a dream image. Whether or not each such account is precisely accurate, the broader scientific literature supports the idea that REM sleep and the dreaming state support a kind of associative thinking that connects ideas in ways that waking, focused attention may not. The default mode network is a set of brain regions that become highly active when the mind is not focused on any specific external task. It is the network that activates during daydreaming, mind-wandering, and self-reflection. Research has found that the default mode network is also active during dreaming, particularly during REM sleep. This overlap has led some scientists to suggest that dreaming is, in a sense, an extreme form of the mind's default activity. Imagination and self-referential thought, running without the constraints of waking reality or external input. Nightmares are not simply unpleasant dreams. They are classified as vivid, distressing dreams that cause significant discomfort and typically wake the dreamer. They occur most often during REM sleep, when emotional content is most intense. Occasional nightmares are normal and universal. Chronic nightmares, recurring several times per week and significantly disrupting sleep and waking life, are recognized as a clinical condition. Nightmare disorder is more common in people with post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorders, and certain other mental health conditions. Understanding the mechanisms of nightmares has become an increasingly important focus of sleep research. One of the most consistent findings about nightmare treatment is the effectiveness of a technique called imagery rehearsal therapy. In this approach, a person who suffers from recurrent nightmares writes down the nightmare in detail, then deliberately changes the ending to something less distressing, and rehearses the new version of the dream in their imagination repeatedly during waking hours. Research has found this technique meaningfully reduces nightmare frequency and severity. The brain, it appears, can be guided through waking imagination to alter the script of a recurring dream, a finding that speaks to the deep connection between waking thought and sleeping experience. The phenomenon of shared dreaming, The idea that two people might independently have the same or very similar dreams on the same night is not scientifically established. However, research into the social dimensions of dreaming is an active area. Studies have shown that people who share close emotional relationships tend to have dreams with overlapping emotional themes and characters more often than would be expected by chance. Likely because shared waking experiences contribute shared material to the dreaming brain. The dream world, while deeply private, is shaped by the same relationships and experiences that form the waking self. The glymphatic system is a network of channels in the brain that uses the flow of cerebrospinal fluid to clear metabolic waste from brain tissue. Research, primarily conducted in animal models, has shown that this clearing system appears more active during sleep than during wakefulness. During sleep, the spaces between brain cells may expand, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow more efficiently and clear byproducts of neural activity, including proteins associated with neurodegeneration. Scientists are actively working to understand how these mechanisms translate to human brain health, and current evidence suggests that sleep quality plays a meaningful role in that process. The relationship between sleep and emotional regulation extends beyond the contents of dreams. Even partial sleep loss has been shown to amplify the amygdala's response to negative stimuli. The amygdala, an almond-shaped structure deep in the brain, plays a central role in processing fear and threat. After a night of poor sleep, the amygdala becomes more reactive, and its connectivity to the prefrontal cortex, which normally helps moderate emotional responses, is weakened. A full night of sleep, including its complete cycles of dreaming, appears to be one of the brain's most important tools for emotional steadiness. There is a phenomenon called hypnagogic hallucinations, vivid sensory experiences that occur in the transition from wakefulness into sleep. These are distinct from dreams. You might hear your name called, see brief flashes of faces or geometric patterns, or feel a sudden sensation of movement. Hypnagogic hallucinations occur in the N1 stage of sleep and reflect the brain's transition from coordinated waking perception to the less constrained imagery of dreaming. They are extremely common and entirely normal. Many people who experience them believe they have seen or heard something real, particularly if they are not familiar with the phenomenon. The scientific study of dreams requires specialized methodology because dreams are, by their nature, private and ephemeral. The most common research method is polysomnography combined with dream reports, waking participants from specific sleep stages and asking them to describe what they were experiencing. More recently, researchers have begun using machine learning algorithms to analyze patterns in brain imaging data collected during sleep. With some early success in identifying broad categories of dream content, including whether a dreamer was seeing faces, objects, or spatial scenes, the science of reading dreams from brain activity is still in its early stages, and the findings so far are more suggestive than definitive. The content of lucid dreams tends to be more emotionally positive than the content of non-lucid dreams, and lucid dreamers have more influence over what they do and experience within the dream. But this influence is not absolute, and it is not always easy to maintain. Many experienced lucid dreamers report that the dream has a kind of momentum of its own, that characters act independently, that unexpected scenes emerge, and that the most interesting experiences in lucid dreams often arise from allowing rather than directing. The dream world, even when entered consciously, appears to have its own intelligence. Research into the cultural and historical practice of Tibetan dream yoga has brought ancient knowledge into contact with contemporary neuroscience. Experienced practitioners of dream yoga report the ability to maintain a thread of continuous awareness across the transitions between waking, sleep, and dreaming, treating all states of mind as variations of the same underlying awareness. Western sleep researchers studying these practitioners have observed EEG patterns during sleep that differ from those seen in non-practitioners, with signs of maintained metacognitive activity during states that would otherwise be entirely unconscious. The findings are preliminary, but they suggest that sustained contemplative practice may genuinely reshape the brain's relationship with sleep. Not everyone who learns about lucid dreaming finds it desirable. Some people report that the awareness of being inside a dream undermines the immersive quality of the dream experience, that knowing it is a dream makes it feel less vivid or less meaningful. Others report that lucid dreaming can occasionally interfere with normal sleep quality, particularly if the effort of maintaining awareness disrupts the natural progression of REM sleep. Research has confirmed that the most intensive techniques for inducing lucid dreams can sometimes reduce overall sleep quality in exchange for increased lucidity. The decision to pursue lucid dreaming involves real trade-offs that each person must weigh for themselves. One of the more illuminating demonstrations in the science of lucid dreaming involved having lucid dreamers perform mathematical calculations inside their dreams and signal the results using eye movements. While the accuracy was imperfect compared to waking performance, participants were able to complete simple arithmetic operations during REM sleep, with the results verified against the pre-established signaling code. This finding suggests that the cognitive capacities available during lucid dreaming are substantially richer than those of ordinary dreaming, approaching, though not quite matching, the full capacities of waking thought. The experience of flying is one of the most commonly reported themes in lucid dreams, and one of the most commonly sought after by people who practice lucid dreaming deliberately. Flying in a dream is often described as effortless and deeply liberating. Researchers studying the neurological correlates of imagined movement during lucid dreams have found activation in motor and vestibular regions of the brain during reported flight experiences, consistent with what is seen during imagined or observed movement while awake. The dreaming brain constructs the experience of flight with the same neural machinery that handles movement in waking life. Dreams have played a documented role in scientific discovery throughout history. The Russian chemist Dmitry Mendeleev reportedly saw the arrangement of his periodic table in a dream, a story widely repeated, though difficult to verify with certainty whether or not each such account is entirely accurate. They reflect a consistent pattern noted by many creative thinkers. The associative, constraint-free quality of dreaming occasionally produces combinations that elude the focused, disciplined mind of waking research. The scientific literature does support the idea that REM sleep and the hypnagogic threshold favor a kind of thinking that connects distant ideas in ways that directed attention may not. The experience of color in dreams is less universal than might be assumed. Studies conducted in the 1950s and 60s found that many people reported dreaming in black and white. More recent research has found that most people under the age of 60 report dreaming in color. One hypothesis, supported by some evidence, suggests this shift may be linked to generational differences in exposure to black and white versus color media. With people who grew up watching black and white television appearing more likely to report monochrome dream imagery, the precise mechanism remains an open question in sleep research, and it offers a quiet reminder of how much the waking world shapes the sleeping one. The sounds of the sleeping environment can enter dreams and be incorporated into their narrative. Research using targeted memory reactivation has shown that sound cues played during sleep can influence dream content. Soft sounds associated with a specific memory or concept played during NREM sleep increase the likelihood that content related to that memory will appear in subsequent dream reports. This finding has opened a research direction in which sound is used as a gentle tool to shape dream content, with potential applications in education, creativity, and emotional processing. Animals in the wild often appear to dream in ways that parallel their waking behaviors. Researchers studying sleeping cats observed that the animals would move their paws and twitch their whiskers in patterns consistent with hunting behavior during REM sleep. Birds studied in sleep show REM states, during which their vocal muscles produced the same activation patterns seen during waking song, as if rehearsing their calls in the dark. The zebrafish, a model organism widely used in neuroscience, has also been found to have sleep states with features resembling REM sleep, including periods of reduced movement and altered responsiveness to the environment. The question of whether animals are conscious while dreaming, whether there is something it feels like to be a sleeping cat in the middle of a dream, is a question neuroscience cannot yet fully answer. What research has established is that the brain mechanisms underlying REM sleep are deeply conserved across species. The structures, the chemical systems, and the broad patterns of activity that characterize REM sleep in humans appear in largely similar form across all mammals studied. This suggests that whatever function dreaming serves, it evolved before the human lineage and has been considered important enough by evolution to maintain across vast stretches of time. We have now traveled far enough through the science of dreams and lucid dreaming to see the answer that has been quietly forming. Dreams are not noise. They are not the random firings of an idle brain. They are a functional state. As essential to the health of the mind as nourishment is to the body, they process emotion, consolidate memory, support creativity, maintain the flexibility of the self, and occasionally offer a window of awareness within which something close to waking thought can operate while the body rests. The research of the past several years has made this clearer than ever before, and there is still more to come. You might be feeling tired now. That is perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Your brain cycles through sleep stages the way breath cycles through a sleeping body. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Each one a small rhythm within a larger rhythm. Each cycle carrying the next memory, the next emotional fragment, the next quiet piece of who you are becoming. You are part of that movement. You do not need to hold on to anything. Let everything unfold in its perfect order. Unhurried. Unresisting. Simply continuing. We are almost there now. Dreams have been studied across cultures for thousands of years. Yet the personal experience of dreaming remains entirely unique. No two people have the same dream. The same person does not have the same dream twice. Not exactly. Even recurring dreams shift in detail across each repetition. Your dreams are shaped by your memories, your relationships, your fears, your hopes, and the precise emotional texture of your days. They are a language spoken only to you. In the only place where you are always the author and the audience at once. The ordinary dreaming mind accepts the most extraordinary circumstances without question. You can speak with someone who has been gone for years. You can stand in a house that is your childhood home and also somewhere else entirely. You can know things you have never known while awake. The dreaming brain's willingness to accept these contradictions is one of its most distinctive features. When the prefrontal cortex rests, the dream world becomes seamlessly real. And that seamlessness is precisely what makes the moment of lucid recognition so quiet and so clear. There is a moment, sometimes, at the edge of sleep, when you are not quite dreaming and not quite awake. Researchers call this the hypnagogic state. In this threshold space, thoughts become images without your choosing. A phrase you were thinking about softens into a face. A feeling becomes a landscape. Many creative people have deliberately cultivated this edge state, allowing themselves to hover there for just a moment before surrendering to sleep. Thomas Edison was among those who reportedly used this approach, holding an object in his hand so that falling fully asleep would wake him at the precise moment of hypnagogic richness. The experience of déjà vu, meaning already dreamed, describes the feeling of recognizing a waking situation as one you have previously dreamed about. Unlike déjà vu, which involves a sense of familiarity without an identifiable source, déjà vu involves the specific sense that you dreamed of this exact moment. Research on this experience is limited, but it appears to involve mechanisms of memory recognition, the brain triggering a sense of prior familiarity based on partial pattern matches between waking experience and stored dream content. Some people experience what researchers call dream incorporation of physical states, in which sensations in the sleeping body find their way into the dream narrative. A person who is thirsty may dream of searching for water. A person whose feet are cold may dream of walking through snow. The sleeping brain does not simply ignore the body. It weaves its signals into the story it is telling, translating physical need into dream narrative. Gently and without drama, the experience of time in a lucid dream can feel qualitatively different from ordinary dreaming. Experienced lucid dreamers have reported the ability to attend to specific moments within the dream with a quality of focus that feels different from the usual flow of sleep. Researchers studying time perception in lucid dreams have found that while the basic rate of experienced time is roughly proportional to real time for simple actions, the subjective texture of lucid dream time can feel remarkably full. A few seconds of lucid dream time can seem saturated with awareness. The act of telling someone else about a dream changes the dream in memory. The first verbal report of a dream shapes how that dream is subsequently remembered. The act of describing a dream in words requires selecting some details over others, and the words chosen become part of the memory. Later recalls of the same dream are increasingly influenced by the language of the first report rather than the original experience. Dreams, like all memories, are not recorded but reconstructed, each time slightly differently. Children between the ages of 2 and 5 tend to have dreams that are simpler than adult dreams. Early childhood dreams often contain only still images of animals or familiar objects, narrative structure, and a sense of the dreaming self as an agent within the dream develop gradually over the childhood years. Researchers believe this development reflects the maturation of the neural networks underlying self-concept, narrative thinking, and the ability to imagine other minds. The richness of adult dreaming is, in some sense, a quiet record of how far the brain has come. People who are highly imaginative in waking life tend to have more vivid dreams, higher rates of dream recall, and in some studies, a greater tendency toward lucid dreaming. The capacity for imaginative engagement, for inhabiting mental worlds with detail and emotional investment, may be a general cognitive trait that expresses itself both in creative waking thought and in the quality of nightly dream experience. The waking imagination and the dreaming imagination appear to share the same roots. The brain generates the experience of emotion during dreams with the same neural circuits it uses to generate emotion while awake. Research using functional brain imaging has shown that the amygdala is highly active during REM sleep, particularly in response to emotionally charged dream content. The fear felt in a nightmare, the grief felt dreaming of loss, the ease felt in a flying dream, all arise from the same structures and involve the same neurochemistry as the emotions of waking life. Dreams are not simulations of emotion, they are emotion, arising in a different context. There is something called a false memory of a dream, in which a person becomes convinced they dreamed something they did not actually dream. This can happen when a waking thought or image, arising in the moments after waking, is mistakenly attributed to the dream that just ended. The boundary between dreaming and waking cognition is not always clear, particularly in the first minutes of morning. The reconstructive nature of memory means that the story of what was dreamed can incorporate material that arose after the dream was already over. Some people are significantly better at remembering their dreams than others. Research has identified several factors associated with higher dream recall. Waking during or shortly after REM sleep is the most reliable. People who sleep lightly and wake more frequently during the night tend to recall more dreams. Keeping a notebook nearby and attending to dream images immediately upon waking, lying still for a moment before moving, allowing the feelings of the night to surface before the day begins, meaningfully improves recall over time. Dream recall is, to a real degree, a trainable skill. Your brain creates entire worlds while you sleep. Every night, during REM sleep, your mind constructs vivid experiences from memory fragments, emotions, and abstract patterns. Characters appear, conversations unfold, and landscapes emerge, all generated from within. These dream worlds feel real in the moment, complete with sights, sounds, and even physical sensations. Yet they vanish upon waking, like morning mist dissolving in the first light. The sleeping brain is not resting. It is creating, exploring possibilities that waking life never offers. The sense of smell is rarely vivid in dreams, even though smell is, in waking life, one of the most powerful triggers of memory and emotion. The visual and emotional systems are highly active during REM sleep. The olfactory system, which handles smell, is less consistently engaged. Some people do report occasional sense in dreams, and those with particularly vivid olfactory imaginations in waking life report this more often. But for most people, the dreaming world is strangely without odor. A reminder that the world sleep builds follows its own rules. In the final approach to deep sleep, the boundary between waking thought and dream imagery becomes increasingly permeable. The ideas you are holding as you drift off may become the seeds of the night's first dream. Researchers have explored this deliberately, using gentle cues delivered in the early stages of sleep onset to plant specific content in hypnagogic experience. What you bring to the threshold, how you feel, what you are attending to, may quietly shape what follows. And for those who practice lucid dreaming, this threshold is exactly where the practice begins. A mind that remains just attentive enough to recognize when the dream starts, that a dream has started. Dreaming is so fundamental to the architecture of consciousness that the complete suppression of dreaming, which can occur through certain medications that eliminate REM sleep, does not appear to cause immediate psychological harm in otherwise healthy people. People taking certain antidepressants may experience suppression of REM sleep for extended periods with no obvious catastrophic effects. But the brain, given the opportunity to recover, will produce a rebound of REM sleep, dramatically increasing its proportion across several nights, as if returning to something it considers necessary. The experience of waking from a dream and feeling that the dream was trying to tell you something is one of the most enduring features of human experience across cultures. Whether or not dreams carry messages in any traditional sense, what research has confirmed is that they contain distilled emotional material, the most charged fragments of your waking experience, processed through the chemistry of sleep. If a dream leaves you with a feeling, that feeling may be worth attending to. Not because the dream was prophetic, but because it may be reflecting something your waking attention has not yet had time to fully absorb. The prefrontal cortex, largely quieted during ordinary dreaming, is what allows you to evaluate reality, to recognize when something doesn't fit, to say this cannot be right. When it rests, the dream world is real. When it partially reactivates, in the conditions that allow lucid dreaming, something shifts. You are inside the story and outside it at the same time. You are the dreamer and the one who knows they are dreaming. That dual awareness is, in its quiet way, a glimpse of consciousness watching itself. In a lucid dream, consciousness generates an entire world, populates it with presences that seem to have their own awareness, and inhabits it as fully as it inhabits waking reality. The dream world is not real, and yet the experience of it is as real as any experience can be. What does that tell us about the nature of experience itself? Researchers studying consciousness have returned to this question often, finding in lucid dreaming a natural laboratory for one of the deepest questions science has ever tried to hold. There is a quality of complete presence that experienced lucid dreamers sometimes describe, in which the awareness of dreaming does not diminish the dream, but deepens it. The colors become clearer. The textures become more precise. The silence between sounds becomes more full. This quality has been compared to descriptions of deep meditative states and to certain moments of profound stillness that people carry for years after waking. whether or not these states share the same underlying territory of consciousness. The parallel is close enough to have become a genuine subject of scientific inquiry. What is perhaps most peaceful about the science of dreams is not any single finding, but the overall picture that emerges. The sleeping mind is not absent. It is not simply waiting for morning. It is sorting memory, softening emotion, creating space for new associations, and occasionally witnessing itself with clarity. It was doing all of this in the dark, in silence, without needing your attention or your approval. It was doing this long before you knew any of the science. One of the gentlest findings in all of sleep research is that rest is not passive. Each night of full sleep, with its cycles of dreaming, leaves you subtly different from the person who lay down. Memories have been strengthened and pruned. Emotional edges have been quietly adjusted. New connections have formed between ideas you did not consciously link. You wake each morning as a person who has been worked on through the night, carefully, without any effort on your part. The science of dreams invites a particular quality of attention to the mornings, those few minutes between waking and full alertness, when images and feelings from the night are still present, are among the most interesting moments of the day. What lingers there is a residue of the brain's nighttime work, fragments of what was processed, transformed, and created during the hours of sleep. Attending to those fragments, however briefly, is a way of being present for something the brain spent the night quietly making. There is a kind of understanding that comes only from sleep, not information, exactly, but something closer to what researchers call gist, the distilled meaning of an experience, separated from the details, available in a form that feels more like knowing than remembering. Sleep researchers have found that people are better at solving problems with hidden underlying rules after a night of sleep than after an equivalent period of wakefulness. Not because they worked on the problem consciously, but because sleep appears to have extracted the structure and made it available. We have traveled through the full science of dreaming tonight, from the slow delta waves of deep sleep to the electric activity of REM, from the brain's memory sorting to the chemistry of lucidity, from the science of nightmare treatment to the ancient practices of dream yoga. What remains at the end of this journey is something simpler than any of the facts. Every night, you enter a state your ancestors entered. Your children will enter. Every mammal on Earth enters. In that state, your brain does things no waking effort can replicate. And sometimes, in the most extraordinary moments of that state, something wakes up inside the dream and says, "I know where I am. I am here. I am aware." And the universe of sleep holds that awareness gently, without judgment, for as long as it needs to last. And so, our quiet journey through the science of dreams and lucid dreaming comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the first slow waves of falling asleep, through the biology of memory and the chemistry of emotion, to the extraordinary science of waking inside a dream while the body remains still. We paused at the moment a lucid dreamer moved their eyes left, right, left, right in a sleep laboratory, and changed what we thought we knew about consciousness. We followed the research that allowed sleeping minds to answer questions from the waking world. We've glimpsed how the sleeping mind is never truly absent. It was always here, working, softly, steadily, on everything that matters. Dreaming reminds us that the mind is always more active than we know. Much of its most important work happens in the spaces we are not watching. In the quiet hours of the night, in the soft territory between one thought and the next, the dreaming brain does not ask for your attention or your understanding. It simply continues, night after night, sorting what matters, releasing what does not, and occasionally offering a glimpse of something that feels, even upon waking, like more than just a dream. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about unity, of every memory ever sorted in the dark, of every dream ever dreamed across the long history of your species. You are not separate from that history. You are a living moment of it. Think about consciousness itself, yours, and everyone else who is somewhere right now, in sleep. Minds doing their quiet work, creating worlds that only they will ever enter. Perhaps all of that awareness is connected in ways that science has not yet found words for. Let your entire being dissolve into the sleep that is already coming for you, into the space where thought becomes image and image becomes rest. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left, only peace. If this gentle journey through the science of dreams brought you any stillness tonight, a soft like, a subscribe, or a quiet share could bring another restless mind to this same peaceful place. It only takes a moment, and it means the world to us. One quiet tap, one sleepy soul at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, through the quiet science of the sleeping mind, farther than most journeys take you in a single evening. You can allow these thoughts of dreams and dreaming to fade now, like the last image of a dream at dawn, present for a moment, then softer, then simply part of everything, leaving only the gentle, unheld calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if something careful and quiet has found you here and decided, without needing to ask, to simply hold you still. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way the dreaming mind carries everything, without effort, without destination, moving always in the direction of rest. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, the brain will begin again. The night's work will already be done, quietly, completely, the way it always is. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul, and remember, every night you sleep, something in you is being gently, carefully made whole. Good night.